Hello campers, Heidi hi. A video response to, I nearly said NES Nate, to NES Nutter Lee, NES Nutter Lee. 10 random gaming questions. I like these. I could come up with some answers. That always helps. Actually, my last video. My last video, it really pissed me off watching it back. I spent most of the time looking just slightly to the side of the camera, and I was too lazy to do it again. And I don't know why I started doing that by, but anyway, 10 random gaming questions from set by NES Nutter Lee. Top lad, check his channel out. I'll get on with it. Lee, check his channel out. He's a really laid back, really cool lad. Into his NES, used to be Cube Master General, so you might already be subscribed to him. You know, used to be into his Cube, now into his NES. And but that's not the only thing. A very informative video about how to clean discs. So, which I had no clue about. So, check him out. He's a top lad. 10 questions, random questions. Some easier to answer than others, but I'll crack straight on after that preamble. I'm wearing a hat. Yeah, I thought I'd just mention that. It's raining. It's the apocalypse. The apocalypse is coming. I thought I'd wear a hat. Question 1. Game that made you the most angry. That's quite easy, actually. Quite easy for me. I mean, there's been games down the years that just really got my tits. For one of them, Championship Manager 99 2000. Well, generally Championship Manager, but that was the game I've played the most. Where just you build up this brilliant team, and then you just come along and you play a team who are really shit, and you have like 40 odd shots and don't score, and they have one and they score, and then you think, yeah, that happened. Obviously, that happens because that's happened this year, isn't it? I think that happened. I think it happened. Was it Chelsea? Set a record recently. Anyway, so that's irrelevant. But that really used to get, that sort of thing used to get on my tits. But that happened more often than just being like a random occurrence. So also, what was the other one? Wild Arms. The game Wild Arms. I mean, obviously I play a lot of RPGs, and there's always things like bosses that really get on your nerves. You can't quite beat them. You have to figure out what is specifically about this boss that you have to do to beat it. But then in Wild Arms, my first 2 playthroughs all got to an impasse at exactly the same point. The first one, I abandoned it. I abandoned it when I got to this point where there's these demons invade this town, and the townspeople go and seek refuge in this sort of underground complex. But then the demons invade that as well, and you have to go and rescue. There's all these nuns and these kids, and there's all these sort of shape-changing demons and stuff. There's a dog, actually. Remember, the dog turns into a monster. And I always my first playthrough, got to that point, and beat all the demons, beat the boss, but there was something I needed to do to progress the storyline, and there was all these clues, and I couldn't work it out, and I ended up sort of backtracking miles and going all the way around the game world and not being able to figure out what it was. So I abandoned it, tried it again, got to the same point, reached the same impasse, and it just pissed me off no end, and just left it for about a year. I mean, from my first playthrough, it must have been my first playthrough. It's about 98. So I reckon it's probably a good at least 10 years before I figured out what it was to get past that point. You have these 3 controllable characters, and they all have these special tools, and one of them is this sort of treasure hunter, a bit like a sort of Indiana Jones type. He's a bit of a rogue. And he has this little pet rat, and you can shoot out a little pet rat to flick switches and stuff. and one of these nuns makes a point of saying, "Oh yeah, so and so doesn't like rats," and I should have taken that as a clue, but didn't. And it took about 10 years. And I thought, hey, I'll try that, and it worked. But that, surprisingly, that's not the game that's made me most angry. The game that's made me the most angry is Modern Warfare 2. Specifically, the campaign bit. There's one particular bit. Everyone knows bit. Although I'm probably the only person who got angry. You know, I'm not the best at FPSs, but I enjoyed that particular game, and I quite like the fact it pissed me off because it showed me I had to sort of work at it rather than being handed all the progression on a plate. And it's the bit where you've infiltrated the safe house and you have to make an escape back out of the safe house to the helicopter. I didn't really know how to work it, and I started off, the first time I did it, I was just sort of pegging it to the helicopter, and it worked. I made it. Rather than, I didn't try and fight my way, I just ran. Ran just sort of like shit. I sort of eyes out, is that the right word, eyes out? The second time, because I sort of played it through in the progressive difficulty levels, and I think it was the second or third time, they were coming from everywhere, and I couldn't quite work out whether I needed to sort of just fight, sort of run going backwards, or sort of fight my way, you know, pick them off as they were coming at me, but still progress backwards, or just to peg it and just, they seem to be coming from low place, and that's generally the most angry I've ever been playing a game. I generally don't get angry, but that was just, I mean, there's probably people who've, is it Alex who said, yeah, he played through that and probably died a couple of times in his in every single playthrough he ever did. It's like, Jesus Christ, not me. But that's obviously indicative of where my skill set lies. It ain't in FPS. But there you go, Modern Warfare. Oh, shit, 7 minutes on the first question. Modern Warfare 2, baby, that made me the most angry. Emulation, yes or no? Yes, I haven't got a problem with it. I've sort of had a sort of punt in the past, sort of setting up emulators on my computer, and done all right. I mean, multiplayer games I didn't actually have in my collection. Specifically, I really wanted to play Shining Force, and I installed an emulator. I managed to, because I'm not that technically minded, and PC stuff just goes over my head. But I wanted to play Shining Force, installed it, and it worked. I was just like chuffed, and I played through it. But the only downside I noticed is that it wasn't complete, and the same version of Shining Force somehow made it through to the Ultimate Mega Drive collection on 360. There's certain cutscenes which aren't in the game. It really annoyed me. There's one particular bit. There's this character Ernest, he's one of these recruitable characters, and he goes off. He goes off on his own because he's a bit of an angry character. And, he goes to attack this castle on his own, and you have to go and sort of back him up. And you find him. You find him fighting one of these enemies. He kills the enemy, and then he sort of breaks through this wall. He just smashes the wall down. And that particular cutscene isn't in the 360 version on the Mega Drive collection. It really annoyed me. It's quite a cool scene. You realise how much of a lunatic he is, and how much of a hard nut. But there you go. Yeah, I haven't got a problem with emulation, but only when there's certain like compilations. I suppose compilations aren't really the best. You know, like some of the Midway arcade classics. Some of those compilations are just like really poor emulations. It's got to be good emulations. That's what I'm saying. But, when you were young, where did you buy your games? A mixture of places. Sort of in my hometown, there's a place. I'm sure it was called Spectrum. I remember going in there with my mate, and they had one of the Dizzy games sort of running on. It was the shop was called Spectrum, and they had one of the Dizzy games running on the Spectrum. And we went in there and we thought, you know, we'll have a go on that. And then the guy didn't like it, the fact that we were loitering, and he told us to get out for some reason. Didn't like it, and I didn't realise. But my mate was going to tap me on the shoulder. Come on, we got to go. And I turned around and he's going, go, get out, like that. So did go back, but he's still a miserable bastard. You know, customer service is shocking. There's another one called Adam's World, but I can't remember where that was. Adam's World. I think that was a chain. Adam's World. I used to get places like service stations, petrol stations used to always get the budget Amstrad games, and Boots and Woolworths. I can remember going into Boots in Wood Green near where I live, and looking at the Game Boy games and the accessories, and these two local scumbag kids tried to get me and my mate Adam to help them nick a load of Game Boy accessories like Game Boy lights and Game Boy magnifiers. And they were really threatening, and we were really like, oh shit, we shout pants, and I think they went, go on, go and move that from there to there, grab that, take it over there and dump it there, and we did, and then legged it. I have no idea how that panned out. So we just got out of there anyway. So Boots, Woolworths, Adam's World, Spectrum. Was it called Spectrum? I think it was. Your favourite looking console? That would have to be the SNES. I just think it's proportionally, it's compact. It's certain things. It's more iconic than other consoles that have before or since. It's got. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking of making the American version, because that's just a monstrous carbuncle with the horrible sort of a palm violet colour scheme. It's only going to appeal to old ladies, surely. But no, it's the SNES. I think it's got proportionally, it's got everything in the right place, and it's got the rounded edges, and it's really pleasing on the eye. I mean, certain things, if I can get the proportions right, I mean, I think it's almost as if with the redesigned Mega Drive, they tried to recreate it, but they didn't get it right, and it was sort of flat, and it took all the character out. And the Mark 1 Mega Drive had character, and you know, it had a bit of a sort of ugly certain appeal to it. But then the Mark 2, they just flattened it out and rounded it off. But the SNES, you know, that's never had a redesign, has it? Apart from the American version. The Dreamcast, actually, I like the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast has the right proportions as well. But, that was a boring answer. Favourite gaming era? I'd have to say it is like the cusp of the 16-bit era to the PlayStation era. Before things started getting really cynical, and you know, before online became, you know, sort of had as much of an influence as it does. You know, it's too mercenary nowadays, and there was a more naivety. There's no naivety now. I mean, I like the obviously there's more naivety and probably more creativity, and the things aren't as easy for people from the old 8-bit era, you know, with the old sort of bedroom programmers. But it's fair to say a fair amount of those games haven't aged. Totally unplayable. But I think the 16-bit era between 16 and 32-bit era is when the games they had the best sort of balance. You know, certain games became big. You know, certain games could last you years. Well, not years, but you know, that you could take like sort of. I like RPGs. I'm talking shit. What am I talking about? But obviously, from the 32-bit era onwards, games were more sophisticated and they had depth. And you know, I mean, certain 8-bit games, you know, you could finish in half an hour. You know, barely a game. I should have thought it through. There you go. That was my answer. What was it? If the next gen was download only, would you buy the console? Yes. But I'd need assurances. I'd need assurances that the money I spend, that I'd have permanent access to the games that I bought. You know, I'd need assurances. I'd need somebody somewhere to give me cast iron guarantees that maybe sort of in 200 years' time, I could still have access to those games if I really wanted to. You know, because when I buy a game, I buy a game. I don't rent it. Favourite game character. This is easy. It's called Boken. It's from Shining Force. He's a little ginger dude. He's not. He's an NPC. He's non-controllable, non-playable character, and he just sort of pops up in general locations. And sometimes he's like a traveller, and he travels the world in the Shining Force world, and you just sort of see him. He's a backpacker. Sometimes you see him. He's climbing a mountain. Other times he does actually help you out at one point. But I don't know. I like his spirit. Bearing in mind he's going travelling in a war zone, and he's a little ginger dude. He's called Boken. Or a counterpoint to that, my most hated character is also in Shining Force. He's called Yogurt. He's a little sort of beaver. I think he's a beaver with a weird sort of like fighter pilot hat on, and he's recruitable, but he only has ever had stats of like 1. His stats don't improve; they're only ever 1. And I think if he killed someone, you get a yogurt ring, and if you give the yogurt ring to any of the other characters, they all look like yogurt. I think that's just a comic effect, but it's actually really irritating. So Boken, number 7. A game series you always hated. I don't really hate games. The only as close as I can get to hating a game is a game that I've never quite loved as much as other people, and that'd be the Sonic games. I don't know. I think there's something missing. The sort of the game when the games play fucking hell, when the game plays to its strengths is when you have less control over the character. It's literally, you can do a speed run of a game. It's literally like 2 or 3 button presses. You know, either that, and when you can see the whole level, you ground to a halt, and it's just that whole inertia thing. Or when you hit like a little lip, and you have to backtrack to be able to get over the lip because you can't quite climb up over that lip. That really gets on my tits. Disc cart only or boxed and complete. Not disc only. I'd never had disc only because discs are too delicate. I think that's the main reason. I've got a few. I think a lot of other people. I've got a few discs in a disc holder, but they're only like loose discs. Just sort of random discs I've got from just random discs randomly. But I don't mind having carts only because they're obviously more robust. But ideally, boxed and complete. I don't like boxed and incomplete. I don't like boxed without manuals or boxed without sleeves. Don't like that. That's a bit like an itch I can't scratch. But there you go. Number 9. That was number 9. Number 10. Yeah. Number 10. A zombie has broken into your house. You can only grab one thing within a 2 metre radius to defend yourself with. What do you use? Well, there's not a lot around me. Literally, right behind the character. It's all my PS1 games. With some games sort of on the top. So I'd have to, I think, yeah, it's about a metre away. I have to wheel myself over on my wheelie chair. Grab myself one of my broken PS1 cases. And what I'd do, I'd go up to the zombie and then I'd like crack it on its head like that, so it like splits into shards. You know, next time anyone complains about how brittle Dreamcast games are and PS1 sort of cases are, being PS1 cases, think of what their alternative uses are. You crack it on its head into shards, and then that'll disorientate it, and you've got these shards, and you get like either shard, and you jab it in its eyes. Not that zombies need eyes. Do zombies need eyes? That dawned on me when I was thinking this question through. Do zombies actually need eyes? It's obviously not all zombies have eyes. But if I jabbed the zombie in the eyes with this, would it die? Why do zombies bleed? It's another thing that's just dawned on me. Why do zombies bleed? But no, like this, crack it on its head and then sort of get the shards, jab it in its eyes, or in the sort of delicate bit under its, you know, the shortest route to the brain. Everybody knows it's the brain, isn't it? So this is an old broken one. I've got a whole load of broken cases, so I could fend off quite a few zombies with these broken cases. Either that, or some elastic bands. Because elastic bands always look like they're going to hurt more than they do, so I could sort of distract it. You know, no one likes having someone coming up to you like that, do they? With an elastic band, going to twang it in the face. You think, it's going to really hurt, but it never does it? Not that lots of people have done that to me, but I've had it done in the past. But you can sort of distract them. You know, just do that to a zombie, just to get it on edge. You know. There you go. Those are 10 questions. I think the answer. I don't know. I'll leave you this one thought. Paraphrasing the great late Garth Crooks. Gaming is gaming. If that weren't the case, it wouldn't be what it is. See you later, peeps.